from the sun's surface. One was the most powerful form of solar flare. It's known as the Class X event. It's taken 4 days for those charged particles to travel 150 million kilometres to us. They're capable of knocking out radio and power signals, but disruptions are not expected to be as severe as a flare in 1989, which cut power to 6 million Canadians. But the waves of energy are likely to enhance the northern lights, the aurora borealis, making them brighter and more visible further south, perhaps even into the northern United States. Well, let's show you a NASA animation of the actual event itself on Monday, dubbed the Valentine's Day flare. The video shows the bright spot on the sun from where the flares erupted, which is about 100,000 kilometres across. And of course, you can follow all of those stories on our website at www.aljazeera.net/English. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines. Funerals are underway in Bahrain for protesters killed in Thursday's violent crackdown that killed at least 4 people. The country's capital, Manama, remains under police lockdown. Bahrain's foreign minister said police action was necessary to bring the country back from, and we quote, a sectarian abyss. Thousands are taking part in pro- and anti-government demonstrations in Libya after Thursday's lethal crackdown on nationwide protests. There are conflicting casualty figures, but Human Rights Watch puts the number at 24. Demonstrators in the city of Tobruk made their views of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi known by burning down a monument of the Green Book that contains the leader's political views. The anti-government protests in Yemen are also expected to continue as people rally following Friday prayers, and the unrest hasn't been confined to the capital Sana'a. Similar rallies were held in the southern port city of Aden. Chaos ensued on Thursday when police opened fire on nearly 3,000 protesters. Officials said 3 people were killed and dozens wounded. Egyptian authorities have arrested 3 former government ministers and a businessman who are under investigation for corruption. And more demonstrations are planned today to celebrate the removal of President Hosni Mubarak last week. Police in Afghanistan say 9 people are dead after a bomb blast in the eastern city of Khost. A further 30 people were injured in the attack carried out by a suicide bomber with a carload of explosives. Most of the victims are civilians. The Taliban has claimed responsibility. Polls are now open in Uganda for the country's presidential and parliamentary elections. The late arrival of election materials has delayed the vote, but election officials say polling stations will stay open longer to make up the time. Some 14 million Ugandans are registered to take part. The vote is expected to see incumbent President Yoweri Museveni extend his 25-year grip on power. A Beijing court has upheld the conviction and 8-year sentence given to a Chinese-born American geologist for stealing state secrets. Xu Feng was charged in July for obtaining information on the Chinese oil industry. His appeal lawyer had argued that the information acquired about the oil industry was widely available. The US ambassador to China was in court and urged China to release Xu. There'll be more news with me at the top of the hour. Do stay with us here on Al Jazeera. Talk to Al Jazeera is next.
Hello and welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. I am Mohammed Ado in Entebbe, Uganda. For 25 years, just one man has occupied the Ugandan seat of power, the State House behind me. 66-year-old Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who seized power while scoffing at African leaders who stay long in power. Today, he has joined the League of African Presidents, whose only wish is to remain in office forever. Mr. President, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera. You're seeking a fresh 5-year term. And what is it that you want to deliver in those 5 years that you did not deliver in the quarter of a century you've been in power?
Every year we add something new. In the first phase of our government, we had to cause economic recovery because the economy had collapsed completely. that minimum economic recovery has been achieved, and we have built a base from where we are going to achieve a middle income status in the next 5 years. Therefore, every 5 years, bring something new.
And are 25 years not enough? Why can't you groom a younger person with fresh ideas?
We were struggling for liberation. It took more than 20 years. We are now struggling to build our country. And we decide who can manage according to the assessment we make of our people. The assessment of our party is that some of the old guard should continue helping as the new ones come up.
You have joined the League of Africa's longest serving leaders, and this is something you criticized when you came to power. Do you ever see yourself retiring anytime soon?
Well, certainly I will retire. I will retire, I wouldn't say soon, but I'm looking forward to retirement. The main point is, how will Africa transition from backwardness to modernity? I never hear you talking about that. You should be talking about that, not talking about the individuals. Talk about the process of transformation from third world to first world. You can have a multitude of individuals changing these chairs, but with no change at all.
Mr. President, your National Resistance Movement Party is run like a one-man show, not an institution. You are the NRM, and without you, some say, it's the end of the party.
Oh, they must be sick, because NRM has got 9 million members. Now, many of the things they do, I don't even know. So anybody to say that I'm running that huge organization alone must be sick in his head or her head.
Now, your opponent, one of your main opponents, Kizza Besigye of the FDC party, is threatening to carry out a parallel tallying of votes and also announce his own results. You have warned that you will arrest them if they do that. Is Uganda about to become the next Ivory Coast?
Oh, no. Uganda cannot become an Ivory Coast. Uganda is a country of capable revolutionaries. You cannot have the type of paralysis you have in Ivory Coast. It will be decisive, and that will be the end. It will not even take 1 day, I can assure you of that.
But what if the opposition do not agree to the votes?
Then they got caught. They don't paralyze. They don't engage in any unconstitutional activities. If they don't agree with something, they got caught. They are not courts themselves. Besigye is not a court. What is Besigye? If he's not happy, he knows where to go.
He's been to the courts twice. And twice.
He was defeated because he was talking nonsense. And he's talking nonsense even now. So if he loses, it will be because the courts don't see what he's saying.